All right, you guys, welcome to this week's virtual hiking club meeting. Back in the United States. Last week we were off somewhere else over in Europe, but we wanted to come back home and explore more in our neck of the woods with the Appalachian Trail. So to start us off, I want to introduce someone very special on this call who you may not have seen before.
Bethany Hugton.
Bethany, hey there.
Hi, Bethany.
It's muted.
So you guys, Bethany, who I have spotlighted here, she has hiked the entire Appalachian Trail through, and so she's the expert, and we are going to get the inside scoop from her today, seeing some of her pictures, hearing some of her stories, and having a little time for question and answer at the end and as we go. So please give Bethany a very warm welcome to our hiking club.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yay.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. This is great. I can't believe you guys meet once a week, and I'm just now finding out about it. Well, I've been missing out.
Well, you have, Bethany, but now you know, and you're welcome to join anytime on any Tuesday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to excuse my high crazy ponytail today. For my work, we dressed up a little bit like 80s, so I look a little funny. But in my other meetings, I was supposed to look a little funny.
I like your ponytail.
Well, thank you.
Really cute.
I used to have two of them.
Hello?
I had braids.
Oh, just a moment, Bethany. I think we got Phil joined us. Hey, Phil.
Hey, guys.
You found us. Hey, Philip, we were just introducing Bethany, who's our special guest today. You might have seen it in the email. And she's going to share more about her time on the Appalachian Trail. Bethany, before I turn it over to you, just a couple of things, reminders for us.
How about sharing my email?
On our Zoom call, a couple things to remember. Because we have so many people, it gets a little crazy when we all talk at one time. So please keep in mind, we'll have one speaker. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. I see all of your faces right now. So when it's a good time to call and answer some of those questions, we'll call you out for it. But please try not to speak over Bethany as she's sharing things or over the speaker as they are sharing things. So with that, Bethany, would you mind just starting and telling us a little about yourself and about what prompted your hike or that beginning prep for the hike? What that was like?
Is it his son?
Yes, I can definitely do that. So I can also see everyone's hands right now. So who all has heard of the Appalachian Trail? Oh, we got a lot of hands. Oh, good. Okay, great. Oh, so sorry. That would be my dog barking.
No, I don't mind. No, I don't mind. We have 3 dogs. We have 3 of them.
Well, I'm so glad to hear you guys have heard of the trail. That is wonderful. It was something I heard of. I'm now 31 years old. I did the trail when I was 25.
Open score.
So it has been a few years since I hiked, but I heard about the trail for the very first time when I was 10. And so I was kind of young. And who has siblings? Anyone have siblings? We got some siblings. Okay. I grew up with 4 older brothers. And when I was 10, my oldest brother was 18. And he had heard about the trail when he was about 16. And when he was 18, he decided he wanted to hike some of it. So every winter, which was right after Christmas through New Year's, he and 2 of my other brothers, ages 16, 17, and 18, so 3 of them, they would go for 10 days and hike the AT. For about 4 years in a row, they did that. So every year, I just heard about how they just saw all of these cool things. They started in Springer Mountain in Georgia. It's the beginning of the trail in the south. And they do 10 days. And the next year, they do 10 more days. And I was 10. I was younger than them, 10 to 12. And all I could think was one day, I'm going to do the entire thing. from Georgia all the way to Maine. I'm going to do the whole thing. I don't know if they're ever going to do the whole thing, but I'm going to do the whole thing. And so that was kind of how I found out about it and how I got really excited to start it. So I waited until I was 25. So I had to wait 15 years until I actually hiked the AT. Has anybody ever waited that long for anything?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a long time.
It is.
So there was a lot of buildup and a lot of anticipation and a lot of excitement on my end. So that was how I heard about it. How I prepared for it was I got a couple different books and I read through some how to plan for the trail. I looked at a couple of blogs that people had. My biggest thing was I really wanted to be as organized as possible before I left, because communication wasn't going to be very easy. I knew I wasn't going to be able to just call home anytime I needed something because I may not have cell service. So I made a really long plan and I found every possible place to stop along the way and mail myself something. So I had a place, I had an address, and I had an approximate date. I thought I might be at that place. And I was able to list it all out, and I gave it to my sister-in-law, who is a very organized person. I gave her the entire list and what I would need her to send me so she could send me packages the entire time I was hiking. And that's what she did. She sent me a package about every 10 days. She would send me some more food. She would send me new socks because I wore holes in my socks. Sometimes she would send me snacks just because it was fun. She'd send me my favorite candy bars because I would eat them like the bag full at a time. And so that was wonderful. I also met a lot of friends along the way, and we would stop in towns, and sometimes we would get like 3 meals at one restaurant because we were just so excited to eat real food instead of camping food. So that was kind of how I prepped and prepared for the trail as I was going. So I do have some pictures. Would you guys like to see some pictures?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Can I show you my pictures too?
Before we jump into your pictures, Bethany, I wanted to just show everyone the trail on a map.
Yeah.
And so we can get
Show
an
you
idea
my
of
pictures?
how
Would you like
long
to show
it
you
is.
my pictures?
Philip, yes, we saw your pictures. I'll bring those out here too for people to see later on in the meeting today, okay?
Okay.
Okay, but
Okay.
hang tight. All right, you guys. So Bethany, these guys know I really nerd out about maps
I love maps.
in club meetings to see just where we are on the map. So like Bethany said, starting in Georgia, the trail goes through all of these states all the way up into Maine.
Wow.
And there's been some debate about the total number of states. Bethany, tell me what you think. I keep reading 14
It's
for the
14.
trail.
Yep.
So let me zoom in here for you guys to see. Here we are in Chattanooga, not too far from where the trail starts in Georgia.
Yeah.
So you'll
Okay.
make your way up from Georgia into North Carolina, into Tennessee, back and forth a bit here, up through Virginia, into West Virginia. You correct me if I miss a state or anything,
You
Bethany.
got it.
Maryland, into Pennsylvania, and then New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine.
So you missed New Jersey. Was the only one you missed.
Ah, New Jersey. I knew there'd be one.
You get
So-
just a little section of New Jersey down there.
Okay. And in total, Bethany, I also read that this is over 2,000 miles long.
It is.
Oh,
Can
baby.
you tell us just exactly how long this trail is?
So oddly enough, the trail changes every year. And that's, I don't know how much you guys have talked about trail maintenance and trail crews and rebuilding trails due to damage on the trail. Sometimes there's wildfires or floods. So because of trail maintenance, sometimes the trail has to be rerouted a little bit. So if it got washed out by a big flood somewhere, they have to change it and reroute the trail. Sometimes that adds a couple miles. Sometimes it takes away a couple of miles. So depending on how that happens every year, the trail fluctuates just a little bit. It gains a few and loses a few. When I did the trail, it was 2,183 miles. And then the next year, it was like 2,187 miles. So, it grew just a little bit.
Okay.
But that's just due to small amounts of rerouting of the trail when necessary. So about 2,200 miles, we'll say.
Wow. And Kendall, do you have a question before Bethany dives into her pictures?
Yes. Speaking of New Hampshire and Rhode Island, me and Miss Megan are actually learning about that right now.
Nice, Kendall.
For Jamestown, and there's actually a map that I got, and it's the exact same thing that I got.
I get pictures from North Carolina.
That's right. Phil sent some pictures in of his time gem mining in North Carolina. And near the end of our meeting today, I will show some of those pictures with everybody.
Yeah.
So at this point, Bethany, we are ready. We are so pumped to see some of your pictures.
All right. I apologize. I muted myself because there was a very loud car driving by. I'm sitting on my front porch. I hope you guys don't mind that.
Oh, and I also forgot to tell everyone that you are a local.
I am.
So even though we're all zooming in from different places, Bethany is not too far from all of us here in Chattanooga.
Yep. I am also in Chattanooga. Okay, let me
All
my
right.
pictures.
Do I show you my pictures?
We'll share.
Hold
I
on,
think I
Phil.
can
We'll
just
get
do
to
this
those
in
in
the
a little bit.
Okay. This is what we want to see.
Oh, perfect, Bethany.
That's cool.
Can you guys
Wow.
Yep, we can see it.
So that is one of the survey markers that you find along the AT. So that is an official survey, and you'll see them all along the way. And basically, it's kind of a nice knowing that that is what that's the trail you're following the entire time. So this is somewhere. This is in North Carolina. This is called Max Patch. That is my brother Jared. He came out to see me on the trail, and this is a very large bald. It's a mountain bald, where back in the day they used to graze cattle. And so this is a very big, it's not too far from here. If you guys ever wanted to try to visit at some point, it's a few hours drive. It's a pretty short hike and it's really, really pretty. And it's called Max Patch. This was actually just somewhere in Virginia, but I thought it was a really pretty sunset. And I thought I'd show it to you guys. I have a few hundred pictures, so I decided to narrow it down some. This is just one of the waterfalls that I saw of the many. This is also in Virginia. That was just a little baby ringneck snake I found. This is a bear that I walked up on. And this guy was actually eating in a tree, a big bush tree. I did not know he was there until I was right next to him. And I think I scared him more than he scared me, and he took off running down the trail. And so I followed him for a little while until he decided to go off the side of the trail and just watch me pass. But this was in Shenandoah National Forest. You guys know where that is?
Mm-hmm.
It is also in Virginia. Virginia is a very long state on the Appalachian Trail. It covers almost 500, a little over 500 miles. So it's almost 1/4 of the entire length of the trail, just the one state. Very long. You guys need to order pizza on the AT?
Oh, cool.
I ordered pizza a couple times on the AT. Papa John's thought I was a little weird when I asked them to deliver it to the trail. They thought I was a little weird, but I really enjoyed that pizza.
I do too.
So this is somewhere, I think this is actually the top part of Virginia. It might actually be into New Hampshire or New Jersey. So this is just another pretty view with those big rocks. This is also in New Jersey. They called this the lemon squeezer because it's a really yeah, you had to really shuffle through there. You can tell my backpack barely fit with me as well.
Yeah.
So this is in Vermont. This is
That's pretty.
One of the highest peaks in Vermont. A lot of people ski this mountain in the winter, but in the summer it just turns into hiking trails. This is Mount Killington.
Bethany, can I ask you a question along those lines?
Yeah.
So, well, I have two parts to my question. One is, what time of the year did you hike it, and how long did it take you to hike the whole thing?
Yeah, we can talk about that. So I started March 10th, 2014, And I stopped and I ended at the very end on August 29th, the same year.
Wow.
So it was about 5.5 months that I was hiking. I did get injured once. I hit 100 miles. I was really excited. It was at the top of a mountain, of course, because 100 miles would be on the top of a mountain. And I was very out of breath. And then my knees started to really hurt. So I actually ended up, I walked a few more miles and I was in a lot of pain and chose to take some time off so that I didn't really injure myself. So I went home for 7 days and rested my knees because I knew if I injured myself, I would never get to finish. But if I rested and my knees healed, I would probably be able to finish. That was a very hard decision, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that sounds like a really safe way to do it. Very
It was.
smart move on your part.
It was very safe because both of my knees were bad, and I also just didn't want to have to give up hiking the rest of my life either if I hurt myself. So.
Right. And it looks like we've got a couple other questions here, Bethany, if you don't mind. Julie, I see your hand up.
Hey, Bethany, did you get tired when you got done?
I was very tired. I slept really good every night because I would hike. The most miles I hiked in one day was 27.
27, wow.
27. It was a long day.
I bet it was.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have breaks in between?
I did. I would take a snack break every couple of hours, a lunch break. Sometimes I would take a nap in the afternoon.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Good question, Julie. And then I see Kendall put a question in the box. She asks, how heavy was your backpack?
Oh, that is a really good question, Kendall. I never weighed my backpack.
Actually, that was not me. That was Kimberly.
Oh, Kimberly asked that.
Oh,
Kendall,
sorry, Kendall. You got a different question.
Well, Kimberly, I never weighed my backpack because I really didn't want to know how much weight I was carrying.
Good idea.
Yeah. I just didn't want to think about it. I had to carry it, so I just put it on my back.
And Kendall, go ahead with your question.
Bethany, how long, usually,
Hey, Kendall, can I interrupt you real quick? Can you bring your mouthpiece closer to your mouth? You're having a hard time.
There you go. There we go. So I was watching the video and I heard that people in the Appalachian Trail takes like at least 100 days to complete that thing. Like
Yep.
100 days. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I would never hike that long. I can.
I'm sure as we go through Bethany's pictures, she'll give us some of the insider tips about how to make it happen. And with that, Bethany, I think we're ready to jump back into your slideshow.
Okay. There was one more question Emily just posted in there. Is it part of the national park system? I can answer that really quick before I go back. It is preserved by not really the park system, but kind of more the national forest. So the trail does go through some of our national parks and is a protected trail. It's considered a national scenic trail. So it is protected by our government, but it's not technically part of the park system. So it's kind of the same, a little bit different. Okay,
At least it's protected.
Yeah, true. At least it's protected. That is very good. So this was the picture in Vermont. This was the highest mountain in Vermont.
Okay.
Well, of course, it's not going to let me go through my pictures now.
Would you like to show you my project?
So this is a shelter. So along the AT, they have these things called AT shelters, and they range from 10 to 15, sometimes 6 miles, sometimes 3 miles apart. And it's just good stopping points along the way. So like Michelle had a map, I had a map, and I had a book that showed me where I could stop each night. And this is a really fancy shelter where basically you just roll out your sleeping pad and put your sleeping bag on it, and you don't have to worry about setting up a tent. But it's somewhere that you could just stay each night. You don't have to reserve it. There's no money involved. So it's really nice. And this was a really, really pretty one that I wanted to take a picture of because it was the nicest one I came across when I was hiking.
It is nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this was in New Hampshire. That is a girl I met
Cool.
on the trail. And she became a very good friend of mine. And we decided to take a little canoe ride. So you asked if I took breaks.
Yes.
I took a break right here and decided to take a canoe ride on this.
Sissy, stop it.
Ready.
Also in New Hampshire. So this is in the White Mountains. If you guys have ever heard of the White Mountains, this is at one of their lodges. That's
Okay.
really pretty. So we took another little break here. So the White Mountains are further north. Do you guys know what above tree line is? So when you go above tree line, that basically means the altitude and the temperature changes, so trees don't grow as tall. It's majority just shrubs and small plants, and it's a really rocky surface. So in New England, here in the United States, the mountains are really only about 4,000 feet tall, and we have the Smoky Mountains really close to us, and those are actually up to 6,000 feet. So these mountains are shorter, but they have less plant life because of the elevation that they're at and the climate that they're at. So all these plants are only about 2 to 3 feet tall in this picture, or shorter, because they don't have, the weather is so cold there, they can't grow very big. So it's very rocky, as you can tell. So this is something called the longest mile on the AT. It's called Mahoosic Notch. And it's 1 mile. Do you see that arrow? I'll see if I can use you see this arrow?
Yeah.
So that arrow is to let you know that that's where the trail goes. Because you just had to crawl and go through all these tight spaces. It was a lot of fun, but this 1 mile took us 3 hours.
Wow.
Very long time to go this 1 mile. It was a really fun time. It was a very long time. That was just a fun time. It says the AT. It's hard to tell in the picture. So I will say something along the trail that I had to think about often was why I was hiking. And if I wasn't having a good time, I had to stop and make sure I was having a good time. Because like you said, that's a really long time to hike every day, over 100 days.
Yeah.
So this canoe is actually part of the trail. This gentleman is a canoe guide, and he takes you across this very big river. And you go from New Hampshire to Maine, and you have to ride in his canoe. You're not allowed to walk because there are a number of controlled dams up the river, kind of like we have a dam here in Chattanooga. And sometimes when they release the water, what happens downtown? Oh, the water goes up.
Right.
And so that's what happens here. And if you don't know that the dam released and you try to walk across this river, it can come up really quickly and it can get really dangerous. So this gentleman stays out there and he canoes you across. You put your backpack in and you sit. It's the only part of the entire trail that you don't have to walk. You get a boat ride.
Wow.
This was
That's
just
what I would do.
because there's a little frog on it.
Same here, Julie.
So here's another one of those. This is one in Maine. So they're pretty big. This is someone's foot. That's a pretty big marker there. So this is also in Maine. Just a really pretty view of the lake.
That's cool.
Yeah, you can see how it's a lot rockier there and the trees are a little different than we have. See, we don't have rocks like this really up high in the mountains. We do a lot of rocks when you're near rivers.
And that's pretty.
So this view, you can't tell, but I can see the very last mountain from this view. It's not behind me. So I decided to have dinner and look at the mountain that I had been so striving to get to for 5 months.
That is pretty.
That is
So
pretty.
it is called Mount Katahdin. Another river that we
Yes.
really wanted to take him home, but I scooped him up and I took him and let him go. And then he decided to come all the way back and sleep on my backpack. He was very cute. So Mount Katahdin is the very last mountain that you end on. So you start on Springer Mountain in Georgia and you hike all the way to Mount Katahdin in Maine. In this picture, it's really hard to tell, but there is a moose right here.
Okay.
It's the only moose I got to see the entire hike.
It kind of blends in.
He does blend in. I couldn't get a picture. He was too fast.
And Bethany, which state was that?
That was in Maine. So I'm almost done with the trail here. And this was, because I was getting close to the end, this was my friend, and we stayed on that rock for about an hour and had lunch. and just kind of hung out and enjoyed the view because we knew our trip was almost over. So that mountain I'm kissing, can you tell I'm kissing it? Trying to kiss the top of the mountain, but that is Mount Katahdin, and that is the end of the trail. From where I'm standing to the top of that mountain was about 30 miles.
Okay, stop.
Wow.
So I had to hike about 30 more miles and my entire trip was over. So I decided to kiss it.
I'm not blaming.
So this actually was a double rainbow. So this was right before I entered Baxter State Park. Baxter State Park is the last park
That's
of the
pretty.
entire trail. And we came out to a road that we had to cross. And there was 2 rainbows. You can't really see the second one very well, but it's right here.
Okay.
I can say it.
Yeah.
I
And so it
can
was
too.
beautiful. It was really nice to have 2 rainbows to walk out to before we entered the very last park. There was a campground right here, and my mom was actually waiting there. She had been camping out by herself for a week. And we walked up into camp and said hello to her, and the next morning we finished the trail. But so it was nice to have double rainbow before we ended our trip.
Yeah,
These
that's
are my 2
nice.
friends
Great.
I hiked with, and that's the very top.
Wow.
Very low.
Wow.
So it's very rocky up top. It's all above tree line for the last 2 miles. And it was a beautiful day. The day before you saw the rainbows because it had stormed. So all the people that hiked that day did not have a pretty view like I did. I was very thankful for my pretty view. Well, I didn't
That's
share all.
awesome.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
What other questions do you guys have?
Now, can I show you pictures
Well,
yet?
first of all, Bethany, thank you for sharing that with us. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And if anybody does have a question, please raise your hand and we'll just go around and answer questions that way. I think Elaine, I see your hand.
I know. Hi, Bethany. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
Hey, so can you tell us again about the canoe?
Yes,
So
I
did
can.
you? I need to know how this man knew to be there to pick you up to take you across the river.
Yes. Okay. So that they have changed that process a couple times. What it used to be is there used to have this really big dinner bell. Have you guys ever seen those really big dinner bells? And you would
Yeah.
ring the dinner bell a couple of times and across the river. And this river is wide, about as wide as the Tennessee River downtown Chattanooga. Really
Yeah.
wide river. And the guy would come down from the cabin and he'd get in the canoe and he'd come over to get you. When I hiked, they realized that that was kind of a lot because, you know, the second he got back to his little hut, he'd sit down and someone would ring that bell again. So
Mhm.
now they have it scheduled where he will start at 9 a.m. and he'll go to noon, and then he takes about a 2-hour break. He comes back from 2 to 4. He took like another 2-hour break, and he would do like 1 more hour in the evening. So you had to plan your day accordingly. If you knew you were going to have to cross the river that day, you had to get there in time for him to pick you up. And if it was during a time he wasn't picking anyone up, you just kind of had to sit and wait and get a snack out or take a nap. Or so it was
He's a
scheduled.
busy man.
Yeah, he was a busy. He was very good at it. He's a very strong man. He just canoed all day, upstream, down. It was, whew.
And Bethany, do you know if that was a paid position?
It was a paid position. For a long time, it was the gentleman who started doing it. He just did it as volunteer. He lived there in that area, and he just would volunteer and do it. And then the Appalachian Trail Conservancy realized it was necessary to have it. But after a while, they ended up paying, and then he did it for 15 years or so, and then they had to find someone else to do it. Very interesting job to fill.
Absolutely. Great question, Elaine. And Kendall, I see your hand up.
So, Beth, what stuff did you pack in your backpack?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I mentioned that there were shelters along the way that you could stay at. So I tried to stay at those as much as possible, but in all honesty, there's a lot of little mice that like to stay in the shelters because a lot of people leave their snacks behind. They're not supposed to do that, but sometimes they leave their crumbs. So all the mice come in. So I took a tent. It was a very lightweight tent. I had my sleeping bag. I had my sleeping pad. I had just one change of clothes. So I was very dirty for 6 months because I wore the same thing every day. And then I always had extra socks. And I had something called a jet boil, which is a cook stove. So I had fuel for my stove. I had a water filter, so I could always have fresh water as I was going. I had a small first aid kit, mostly with blister stuff in it, so I could take care of some blisters. And then I had kind of a long sleeve, somewhat of a jacket. It was more of a heavier shirt that I carried the entire time. I actually used it as a pillow every night as well. And I had a little bit of extra rope in case I needed it.
Wow, that is smart.
Great question, Kendall.
And our family has a big family tent still in the garage. We haven't used it ever since then, the Smoky Mountains. So, yeah, I don't know how long we're going to be using it.
Well, thanks for that question. And Jimmy, did you have your hand up? You have a question, buddy? You'll have to unmute yourself to ask it. Hi, Jimmy. What's your question?
My question is, how did you bring any trail mix along with you?
Did I take trail mix?
Mm-hmm.
I did take trail mix. One of my
every
favorite
food that
snacks was an almond Snickers.
Oh,
Instead
yeah.
of regular Snickers, almonds are my favorite nuts, and so I ate a lot of almond Snickers.
Great idea.
Sounds-
So, Bethany, Elaine and I were talking earlier about being on the trail for so long and how you develop a trail name, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that and what your trail name was?
I can. That is really good. So my trail name was Indy, and it is short for Indiana Jones.
Oh,
Now,
that's neat.
I kind of cheated, I'll be honest. I took mine off the trail because I was a single girl hiking alone, and I decided I didn't want to tell a lot of people my real name. So I actually took my name. Now, the tradition behind trail names is that you earn your name. So a lot of people would earn their name because they would do something really goofy or something so silly, or maybe they said something really funny. So I have a good one. I have a good story. There's one gentleman who, within his first 3 days, he was hiking and he slipped in the mud and he fell on his backpack. And when you first start out, you typically carry a lot of stuff you don't need. So his backpack was really big because he just didn't know what he would use. And he got stuck on his backpack and he was flopping around and his legs were going everywhere. He looked like an upside down turtle. Does everyone know what an upside down turtle would look like on their shell?
Yeah.
That's what he looked like. So everyone from there on out called him Turtle. And that was his name. So he never, to this day, he still goes by Turtle. To anybody that knows him as a hiker, they call him Turtle.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's how you can earn a trail name, because he just looked like a goofy turtle. So people call him Turtle.
Okay.
That's a great example. Thanks for sharing that.
Hey, Michelle, one more thing here. You don't know this, but I got a new dog.
Kendall.
Yep.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Hey, I think I see Philip had his hand up. Philip, do you have a question?
I have a question. I showed the pictures.
Wow.
Oh, Philip, yes. Don't worry. I've got those pictures up on my screen to share with everybody. Oh, you've got them right there too. So Philip, why don't you go ahead and tell us where you were when you took those pictures?
Well, I went to North Carolina to into this.
Oh, that's cool.
And what were you mining for, Philip?
I'm mining for sapphire.
Good.
And can I show the, oh, you have the pictures, perfect. So that was the picture of him in the process of mining for those sapphires.
Yep.
Very nice.
Where's mine? Where's mine in North Carolina? Where's mine?
Wow, Phil.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ta-da!
Whoa.
What are those, Phil, in your hand?
Wow.
Well, those are 10 and a half carat sapphire.
Ooh.
Wow, Philip, you are awesome at that stuff.
Nice.
Those
Oh,
are
we've
my
got
name on
one
them.
more.
Nice, Philip.
That must have been a really fun trip, Phil.
Yeah.
Nice going, Philip.
We have the stone. Cool.
And this is my certificate.
Ah,
Yes.
so cool.
And you will see my link.
Very
Hey,
cool,
Phil.
Philip. Did you do any hiking while you were there, Philip?
Nope, I was doing.
She had skin
walking the
cancer.
Tower.
She had,
Can go walking. I did go walking.
You went walking. Okay, very cool.
To the,
And was
to
that
the-
by a mountain, Philip? Mount La.
I went walking to the mountain.
Was it Mount LeConte?
Wow.
If I remember right, I think it was in
On the
that.
map. Oh yeah. Right here at Bertram Trail.
The Bertram Trail. Very cool. Well, Philip, thank you so much for sharing those really cool pictures. That's just one more thing that you and now Bethany have in common, that you like to hike.
Absolutely. Do we have more questions for Bethany about the trail or her time out there?
Well, did you find gems in Maine?
Unfortunately, I did not find gems, but you found some great ones. I wish I would have found those.
Did you hike all the way into the mountain?
I did. I hiked pretty far into the mountains. I didn't find any gems, though.
Ah.
Oh dear. Oh dear. What a shame. What a shame.
It was.
And Kendall, you have another question?
Yes. So Bethany, what temperatures did you deal with? Was it warm or cold between those?
Yeah, good question. So since I started in March, I still saw some snow. There was a couple times I woke up with ice and snow on the ground the next morning. So I think the coldest it ever got was around 20 degrees. The coldest it was while I was there. And then when I was in the state of New York, so I was getting pretty far north, I had some of the hottest days. It was early July. It was around July 4th. And I had 3 days where it was above 90 degrees.
Oh gosh, that's hot.
A very big difference from March to July. Most of the time it was around 70 to 80, depending on the time of year. But I had cold and I had hot. Good question.
And Julie, do you have a question too?
yeah. Did it rain a lot?
Oh, that is
We're from
it
New
did
Jersey.
rain a lot. It rained a whole bunch. So the state of Pennsylvania is known to have a lot of droughts in the summer, and a lot of their springs that you would get your filtered water from, they would dry up. And so I actually, from the very beginning, was praying the whole time that there would be a lot of rain when I was in Pennsylvania. And it rained every day,
Oh, that's
which was great because I had plenty of water to drink. But I also got very lucky. It only rained on me at night. So it would it did. It rained while I was sleeping, which I don't know if you guys have ever gotten to sleep in a tent when it's raining, but it's very nice. Sleep really well.
And
I
Bethany,
like those rainbows. They're pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
I saw a few of them. I liked that double rainbow though.
Oh, I do too.
And so you mentioned you got your water from the trail, Bethany. What kind of system did you use to make sure the water was clean to drink?
Yeah, so I used something called a gravity filter. I should have brought it out. It's inside. You take one bag, kind of like you guys ever had a Camelback backpack that has a water pouch with a straw?
Oh, yeah.
So it's one of those. So you fill it up with spring water, whether it's from a creek or a natural spring, even a river, and sometimes lakes. Lakes are a little not as fun because they're a little dirtier because they're not flowing water. But I would go to a creek most of the time or a spring, and you fill up a whole bag of water, and then you plug in kind of like a straw, and then it goes all the way through this little filter, and it drains down. You hang it high in a tree, and it drains through the straw, through the filter, through a new straw, into a clean bag. So I'll have to find a picture for you and show it to you.
Nice. And just a couple things here in the chat box. We've got, since the trail goes through New York, Beth and Alyssa, I think that must have been Alyssa, who's from New York.
Yeah, from there.
Yeah, this is from New York. And Rachel's parents got married in New York City.
Oh, cool. I got to see New York City skyline from about 100 miles away, but I got to see it.
I bet that was really cool from the
They
trail.
got married in the UN chapel.
Oh,
Nice. Very cool.
very cool.
And let me just say for everyone on here, I know we try to wrap up around 3:45. And so if you have other obligations and you need to leave the meeting, now is a good time. If not, we have a couple more things to share before we end, but we will for sure wrap up about 4 o'clock in 5 minutes. So for anyone who needs to leave, feel free to do that. Otherwise, do we have any other questions for Bethany?
Oh, yeah, I do.
And Bethany, do you have another few minutes to stay with us?
Yeah, I have another meeting at 4, but I'm good. I can be a little late to that one too.
Okay, well, thank you. Yes, Julie, go ahead.
I got a question. Was your dad in that 9/11 attack?
Probably.
Can you repeat that one for me, Julie?
Was your dad in that 9/11 attack at New York?
Oh, my dad? No. He was
No, I'm
not.
not talking about your dad, but I was saying what your dad when that happened.
Oh, was I there? I'm sorry. I was not there. No.
Okay.
That's a good question. I was not there, though.
All right.
My my uncle was there, but he was working in another building in the city.
And Kendall, did you have another question?
Yes. So Bethany, you know how you were just talking about the cool cleaning straw that you got for your hike? And my mom has a backpack that she carries with her when she's running, because when she's running, she has a little ice water carrier that she can put her water in there and then put in her little race backpack, and then she just takes that little tube and puts it in her mouth, and then she can drink from right there.
Very similar. Mine just had
carry
a
her phone and stuff that she needs.
Very similar.
Perfect. So Bethany and crew, I was actually over on the Appalachian Trail 2 weekends ago in North Carolina, and I took a few pictures for you guys to show you what it looks like right now over on the Appalachian Trail. So I can share some of those with you, unless we have some more questions for Bethany. Yeah. Okay. And Bethany, if you need to jump off at any point to join your other meeting.
May in a minute, but I'll look for a second.
All right. So here we go. So this was just 2.5 hours away, you guys, from Chattanooga. So I started here on my porch. Bethany's porch look familiar? And then we were hiking up this section from NOC, the Nantahala Outdoor Center. So you can see some of the different technicality of the trail. We did a hike. It was basically just straight up towards this old fire tower. Now, my friend is not drinking the water. It was just a nice spring to cool off and splash it on our faces.
Yeah.
So I especially took some pictures of the plants that I saw there and some of the trail. and what that looks like.
Wow,
So you
Michelle.
can see
Wow.
these different colors of plants, these different berries, which you should not eat.
Nope.
A lot of beautiful flowers out there right now. A huge, these trees are gigantic, and a big canopy before fall comes and they're all blown away. So there were also some of these strange new little berries that I've never seen before. Again, never eat anything you don't know what it is. Typically don't eat anything in the wild. And the view, though, was really incredible after all that hard hiking to be able to see in the distance. This is just a brief video so you can hear it. A lot of crickets or cicadas. So it's still very lush and very green. Now, while we were out there, some hikers told us right as we started, they said, look out for the blue trekking poles because that'll tell you where there's a giant hornet's nest and there's a swarm of bees and you need to take an alternate route around the bees. So we decided that we just wouldn't go that far and turned around early instead of facing all the swarm of bees. But here's one of the official trail markers saying that from Georgia to Maine, the Appalachian Foot Trail, south to north, north to south. Just a few pictures to show you what it looks like right now. And that was, again, just a 2.5-hour drive from us here in Chattanooga. Bethany, thank you so much. She had to leave us.
Bethany, thank you.
Don't forget the link.
So super cool to have Bethany and hear about her story. Amazing that she did the whole thing by herself over 5 months' time. That's pretty incredible.
Wow. Yeah, it is.
Hey, Michelle, your pictures are just amazing. That's incredible. I can't believe you did that. That's incredible.
Thanks, Kendall. I mean, Bethany hiked 2,000 and some miles. I only hiked 5.
Yeah, my mom did too.
I can't hike that long.
I can't hike that long either. I would be bored.
I can't hike that long either.
So before all this COVID-19, like literally, probably like last year, me and my cousin and I were all hiking on the Smoky Mountains Trail. It was pretty long. It was like pretty high up. So I did not like that much fight, but I did it anyway. I did it anyway.
It's hard. It's hard, right, to climb up a mountain. But typically when you do that, you have an amazing view from the top.
But I get scared pretty easily when I'm on heights like that, so.
I just feel like
just so you all know.
I wouldn't do that because of all the bugs. It's like no
bugs. Definitely take bug spray with you if that's something to worry about. So Bethany, she gave us a little shout on the chat box. She said it was wonderful joining the meeting and thank you so much for having her. She enjoyed sharing her stories and pictures as well, and she thanks us for our stories and questions. She says, happy hiking. So with that, everyone, I know we've gone over today. Thanks for bearing with us with some of the technical difficulties earlier in the meeting. But we're so glad you came. We're so glad you came. Phil, we're so glad you shared those pictures.
Okay.
And you can send me the link, Phil, and I can send it out to everybody else, okay, in an email? Perfect.
I hear
Julie's clock.
Julie's clock is telling us it's time to go.
Not for me.
So you guys, again, so good to see you. We will be sending out the link and the new location on Friday for next week's club meeting. So with that, have a great rest of your week.
I got it, question, Michelle.
And we'll see you then. Yes, Julie.
I'll be gonna hike at the Dollywood thing.
Hike in Dollywood?
Yeah, I thought you seen a link to that.
I already went to them.
Like for the Appalachian Trail?
I had blast.
Yes.
I think maybe that was the Smoky Mountains. Was that
Yeah,
that video?
it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. That was just to show you some more about the trail and some of the mountains that it went through.
Okay.
Not specifically about Dollywood.
Oh,
Okay,
Michelle.
I'm sorry.